Our Hawaii trip started with a drive up the Diamond Head, which we found out is closed to tourists unless you have a reservation, but we still got some pretty impressive views on the drive back home. We took a short walk from the place we were staying and saw lots of wild chickens and their little chicks walking around with them, which was adorable. And also got to check out a pretty cool cacti garden, which had all kinds of different cacti, very sharp, very tall, but with lots of gorgeous and beautiful designs that made us quite fascinated by the varying wildlife and plant life that exist on this little island. As we walked to a nearby park, we actually had a chicken that we named Buff Chicken keep following us around, and he seemed pretty intimidating, so we got out of his way fast. I tried to convince my wife we should cancel our Tesla reservation and get this vehicle, but I guess she didn't want it. After walking through several parks and beautiful gardens, we decided to just go back to the good old beach and do some snorkeling. And I took my iPhone underwater with no case, very dangerous, especially considering it was salt water, but we got lots of cool video of fish up close. And trust me when I say it looked even better in person. We had a great time at the beach, but at the place we were staying, we noticed how temperamental the weather is there. Like, it's completely sunny out one window and totally raining out the other window. Luckily, though, the temperature was still perfectly moderate, a crisp 75 degrees. We took a brief hike, which is just off of like a residential street, which is kind of surprising, but it takes you to this beautiful lookout that people call the Spitting Caves. I guess because these giant waves splash up against the cliffs and water will mist up against you, which is pretty awesome. But it was a great photo op and we got a lot of great pictures and enjoyed the incredible scenic views, which were not too far from the road. We picked up these incredible local desserts called malasadas from a food truck, and they're incredibly unhealthy but so worth it. We looked around for a good place to chow down on the malasadas and found some incredible lookout points, as well as kind of an empty beach where not that many people were, but we got to have beautiful views of the water. And then headed more in town where we could pick up some raw coconut milk and eat some perfectly fresh coconut flesh. If you want a really great view of Honolulu, I highly recommend checking out the National Memorial Cemetery of the Pacific, which has this free-to-access lookout point where you can see all over the city. Just incredible, breathtaking views, and a very powerful place to remember those who served our country. Later that night, we got to pick up dinner for a friend's birthday party at Yard House, which was fun and part of this kind of cool outdoor mall plaza area. And we knew we weren't in California anymore because they literally had tiki torches right under plants, and no one cared because stuff doesn't burn that easily there, I guess. And it was awesome being surrounded by gorgeous trees that were kind of blurring the lines between nature and civilization with these gorgeous hotels in the area. The next day, we got to take a wonderful hike on the scenic views towards Manoa Falls, where we saw some of the most giant trees I've ever seen. Huge, wonderful lookout points, and you feel really, really isolated out there. And yet there was still a lot of people, probably the busiest hiking trail I've ever been on. We found it pretty funny how many danger and warning signs there were for people to not get in the water because there's flesh-eating bacteria and everything, and yet there were like dozens of people swimming. Obviously, we paid attention because we know how to read signs, but hopefully people can treat their surroundings a bit better next time. After hiking, they had this cute little shop with Dole Whip, which was some of the most delicious frozen yogurt ice cream stuff I've ever tried. So juicy, so fruity. Anytime I go somewhere now, if they have Dole Whip, I have to get it because this was the most delicious thing ever. Another free place I'd recommend is the Botanical Gardens in Oahu, which have these spectacular views. It's actually where they filmed Jurassic Park, and you learn a lot at this lookout point about the old volcanoes that formed these islands and how massive they really were. We also learned about why they don't have snakes in Hawaii, and it's because these mongoose or mongoose, whatever you want to call them, basically eliminated all snakes from the island. And of course, the Botanical Gardens also have actual gardens with some really beautiful plants I've never seen before. This one tree that basically had like coconuts, but not like a coconut tree would, and lovely place to hang out and look at the water. In fact, there's a ton of these big orange fish directly in the water that swim right up to you, I guess because they're so used to people feeding them, and they're funny looking things because they have these big bulbs on their heads. I guess they got big brains or whatever, and they swim right next to the ducks. They don't seem to bother each other, and it feels like a little ecological paradise because a lot of these birds were kind of stepping right on my feet as we were watching the fish. I was also very impressed with the amount of red in some of the plants in the botanical garden. They look like they're spray painted, but they're not. They're naturally showing off these really vivid, very bright red accents, both in bamboo and on leaves. And it makes you feel like you're almost on an alien planet. Another thing people might not know is that you can go to resorts at Hawaii, even if you're not staying there, just to eat at the restaurants and stuff and check out the beautiful views they have. So we went to the Turtle Bay Resort there and got to check out these awesome restaurants that served great food while eating right alongside the beach, watching people practice surfing, and check out these really, really awesome lobbies and lounges that people were hanging out in. We were quiet, we tried not to bother them, but because the beach is accessible to all and not private, you're still allowed to swim and snorkel there, which of course we did. We also found out that a few of our favorite rom-coms were filmed here, like Forgetting Sarah Marshall, so we have to watch that one after visiting this place. I did find a little bit of color in the coral reefs. It's a bit sad that so much of it has died, but I guess that's the price you pay when you leave things open to the public. Luckily, I didn't step on any giant sea urchins that I saw when I was snorkeling, but lots of colorful fish swimming around me at all times, which was just so much fun, and so many positive memories were made there. Calamari there was excellent, but it was nothing compared to the incredible heaven that was the pineapple butter rum cake. Very expensive, but super delicious. The whole trip was worth it just for that alone. We concluded our trip with a couple more walks by the beach and stopping by a Marriott resort, which is actually where they filmed the last Sonic movie. But they had amazing fish and chips and very relaxing lawns that were laid out and freshly cut right by the grass. We had to just relax and sleep out there for a while because of how nice it was. Overall, I can't wait to go back to Hawaii again. The weather was amazing, gorgeous views, and so many great friends we met along the way.